The first thing you want to do is plan ahead. You're going to want to look for the appropriate time and place to have your protest. For instance, if you're protesting over proposed legislation at the state level, the appropriate time to do that protest might be while the state legislature is in session. And you may want to do it at the state house so that the legislators and their staff actually see the protest. It's also important to pick a time far enough in the future that you'll be able to promote the event. Many protests that are otherwise well organized are poorly attended because there simply isn't enough time to promote the event to the community. Your promotional strategies might include flyers, emails, social media, social networking, and then of course good old-fashioned person-to-person networking. Don't forget to get your friends and your loved ones and your co-workers, even people at church, excited about the protest. Get them passing out handbills and inviting their friends too, and then you can build a base of people in advance who are really excited about the event. You may also want to reach out to media sources, paid if possible or free if necessary. There are community calendars, you can send press releases, you can even send public service announcements to radio stations and TV stations in advance to get a little publicity for your event. It's also very important that you think about what your event is going to look like. Will everybody wear the same color t-shirt? What will the signs and banners say? Will there be props? Will there be music? If you're hosting a public event on public property, you may not need a permit, but it's a good idea to check with the police department in advance, if nothing else to let them know that you're there and that this will be a peaceful event. Do not obstruct doorways or the sidewalk, and of course ASA always insists medical cannabis protests are peaceful and respectful. We never want to alienate our community or put out on a bad show for the news media. When engaging in acts of civil disobedience, it's very important that activists be prepared to deal both with the emotional and legal consequences of breaking the law. Remember that when engaged in acts of civil disobedience, you may be arrested and you may have to bail out and even face charges. Give some thought to this and to the degree of commitment that you have both to the action and to its outcome. However, you should also remember that acts of civil disobedience are mainstays in the American tradition of standing up for civil rights. And those people who are prepared to engage in civil disobedience in a dignified and peaceful manner have very often been those who push the issues forward in civil rights, including medical cannabis, to a degree that may not be otherwise possible. When you organize your protest, plan ahead so that certain roles for the day are filled by volunteers. It's a good idea to have an MC to direct the events of the day, help introduce speakers, generally direct the crowd in what's going to happen next. It may also be important to have a police liaison, someone to interact with law enforcement to make sure that the event stays peaceful and safe. And then of course you'll want to have someone on hand to deal with media. It's a good idea if that person has press releases or press packs ready to go and intercepts every single representative of the media to make sure they have our information, but also to make sure we have their information to follow up on and to invite them to future events. Designate volunteers to do crowd control and vibe watching to make sure that the event stays positive and stays on message.